Hello, Wilson families. It's Thad. During this pandemic, we've certainly worked hard to create Wilson Connect Ed, our online learning experience for students. And we've also thought of how we can be helpful for parents. And we decided to start an Ask the Expert series because we have such wonderful experts in our own Wilson parent community.
Today, we are excited to welcome Beth Fisher to our second edition of Ask the Wilson Expert. In addition to being a parent of a current sixth grader and a Wilson alum, Beth has expertise in education and professional development. For many years, she consulted with the faculty at Washington University, and she currently is an independent consultant in this area. Thank you for joining us today, Beth.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm so honored to be here.
So I guess a good place to start would be, what is a growth mindset and why is it important? And then also, why is it important, especially now?
So growth mindset is a term that refers to the belief that our intellectual abilities can change and grow. And there's another common belief about intellectual abilities, and that is that they are basically innate, that we're born with certain abilities and talents, and they don't change substantially over time. So it's not that one as an individual either has a growth mindset or has a fixed mindset, but in certain contexts or depending on the domain in which we are working and learning, we might tend to have more of a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. So I might have more of a growth mindset in math, but then when it comes to art, I might feel like I'm just not a creative person and I'll never be good at art or something like that. So this is something that is helpful for us to think about as parents in our own mindsets, as well as what mindsets do our kids have when they approach learning, and especially academic challenges. So one of the keys to growth mindset is that intelligence rather can grow and change, but it requires effort, and not just any effort, but effort during challenges, effort during difficult contexts. So it's somewhat analogous to doing a physical exercise that's challenging can grow your muscle mass. When you do challenging intellectual tasks, new connections are forming among the neurons in your brain, and so it's another kind of growth, but one that occurs when you engage in those challenges. So the term growth mindset was coined by Carol Dweck, and she also pioneered the research in this area, not only to kind of understand the concept, but also research by Dweck and her colleagues has shown really interesting benefits, and this goes to why it's important. Benefits and correlations between approaching learning with a growth mindset and things like improved motivation, the desire to keep trying even when you're faltering and failing even, and also correlations between growth mindset and improved performance in academic work. As well, there are some really interesting correlations between a growth mindset and a sense of belonging to the learning community, which is really important in terms of persistence. So there are these really great benefits in general, and I would say now why growth mindset can be so important is a couple of things. One is that all of us, parents, caregivers, teachers, students, we're all engaged in learning in new ways right now. And because of that, we're often kind of on the edge of our abilities and kind of well outside of our comfort zones when it comes to learning. So while this can be really uncomfortable, and it is really uncomfortable, it's actually a space where we have really the greatest potential to grow and to learn more. And then the second thing is that currently, especially for parents and caregivers, I think we have more opportunity to observe our kids learning, and that part of that is sometimes we have more opportunities than when they're in school to see those moments when they're struggling. And again, the moments of struggle are key to growth mindset. and really key to that potential to learn and to expand our abilities.
That's great. Thank you. And I can certainly identify with that idea of being outside your comfort zone during this time. So what are some specific ways that parents can encourage a growth mindset in their children in general, and then maybe any specific challenges that your kids might be having at home during this time too?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I think there are a number of things that we can do. And so I would just focus on really considering how it is we respond to our kids, both when they're succeeding and when they're struggling. And the messages that we might be conveying in terms of how we respond, because those messages can go a long way toward fostering a growth mindset, improving our kids' sense of motivation and desire to keep going through challenges. So I would give a couple of ways to think about this. One is in terms of our kids' successes. So when we see our kids quickly and seemingly easily doing something and doing it well, we might think or even say out loud to them, "That's great, you're really smart at this, you're really great at this." And that might seem to be not a bad thing. Why would it be a bad thing? So it is to recognize our kids' talents or their intelligence. And so what we should think about, though, is that that way of responding can kind of reinforce this assumption that if you're smart, then schoolwork is easy. So it can lead them then, when they inevitably encounter some difficulty, as they will, whether it's when they switch subjects or maybe it's a year down the road or whenever it might be, when they encounter difficulty and maybe it's slow going, they're not getting those quick results, not getting perfect answers, they might then conclude, well, I must not be smart at this. I must not have what it takes to be successful as a learner in this context. And so rather, we might respond certainly by recognizing their good work, but also in our praise, trying to focus as much as we can on process. So it might be something like, oh, it's really great that you figured out how to do this kind of problem, and let's go find some new problems that are more challenging, more difficult maybe, and I bet it'll be really fun to figure out how to solve those problems, right? And so you're kind of putting the focus on effort and challenge, and noting that if they're getting these quick, good results now, it's probably because they've put in some effort in the past, or they've learned that, right? And they're ready to move on. And then conversely, in the situation where your kids might be struggling, and they might say something like, I can't do this, I'll never be good at this, and they give up, or they're on the verge of giving up. I think as a parent, often we might be thinking and even wanting to comfort them. We might say something like, oh, maybe math isn't your thing, or, maybe you're just not a creative person, or you're not a natural writer, it's okay. And we're meaning this to kind of be part of encouragement. Oh, you're good at so many other things, etc. But again, this conveys the idea that what we're seeing here is a result of kind of your fixed traits. And so that kind of comfort feedback can actually be demotivating. Some of Dweck's research has shown in that, if you're convinced that you don't have natural abilities in that area, why would you want to keep trying? If you keep trying, it's just going to give you more evidence that indeed you're not good at this and you'll never be good at this, right? So kind of shifting from comfort feedback into strategy feedback, right? And to find out what strategies your kids have been using, and then help them find new and different strategies, encourage them to know that they can improve. And in fact, that improvement might be a goal there rather than perfection. Rather than getting the best and perfect answer every time, maybe you can set a goal in terms of improvement, and that they do always have that potential to improve. So those are kind of general ideas. I guess I would say, in reflecting on kind of some of the challenges of remote learning, and again, we're kind of in this zone, and for many of us outside of our comfort zones, learning new ways to learn. And our kids are engaged in kind of learning through these screens that I think have more often, to make a generalization, more often have been a mode of entertainment than engagement and challenge and learning. So it's almost like they have to learn anew to be students in this new mode. They learned, and even the youngest kids are learning how to learn in school and what's expected of them in school, right? In terms of how to engage and interact and learn. But now we're kind of learning it in this new environment. So maybe when your kids say something, well, I just can't do this, I can't engage with in these discussions through Zoom, help them use the word yet, right? Well, I can't do it yet, I'm not there yet, but that means that I can still get there. But even for the youngest students, you can maybe help them make this kind of learning a game. And I know our teachers have been engaged with this too, in that, you might, I don't know, make up a little mini bingo card where each time they respond to a teacher, they get to mark a square. And each time they see all of their friends on the screen, they get to mark something. Each time they complete an assignment, they get to mark the bingo card. And so it becomes a kind of game, but that means, I think, that you're kind of helping them see sort of what's expected, but you're also helping them kind of track their progress and noting improvement. And certainly you can reward them for doing everything, but you can also reward them with your praise. It doesn't have to be a thing, but reward them with, or just acknowledge that today was better than yesterday, or you know what, today was harder than yesterday. And be okay with, and help them be okay with the fact that some days are going to be tougher than others, and some days we do well, and some days we kind of take missteps, but it's all kind of in the process of learning.
I think those are great reminders for kids as well as parents too. And I love that idea of a bingo card for the learning. So as we're looking ahead to the summer, how do you think we can take growth mindset into the summer with us?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know a lot of us are looking to the summer with a lot of question marks about what exactly it's going to feel like and look like. So a couple of things that I'm thinking about as a parent, and I think I would encourage others to think about too, is kind of as we shift to maybe other endeavors. I know a lot of camps are not occurring or not on the same schedule. But think about how to encourage growth mindset in other things, not just in academics, in sports, in learning how to cook, and learning how to do any sort of activity your kids might be engaged in this summer. And really focus then on how are you responding to their successes and their failures, as we said before, but really focusing on process and strategy. But also for yourself, don't expect to be perfect in this. Give yourself a little bit of a break. And you could even talk to your kids about, well, how did the last 2 months go? And as we were trying to juggle school and work and taking care of each other and trying to find time and ways to have fun too, where did we succeed? Where did we fail? What did we try that just didn't work? And kind of engage them in this talk about successes, failures, and seeing that as a ground for learning and growth. And then second, as much as possible, and it's challenging right now, but really encourage your kids to try something new this summer. So in addition to getting some more practice at something they're already good at, try something new, and expect imperfection. Expect that it's not going to be great at first when you try something new, likely. But it doesn't have to be, huge. It doesn't have to be learning a new language. It doesn't have to be academic at all. It could be taking on a new household chore, learning to do laundry, learning to help with dinner in some ways, make some cookies for a relative, how to make a video. Our kids actually already know how to do those things, right? But at any rate, it could be just about anything that they learn that's new, and kind of get them comfortable in that uncomfortable zone of not being perfect at it, but just trying it for the sake of fun. And then third, I would really recommend parents and kids, if they have time this summer, to learn about growth mindset. And there are lots of great resources that are widely accessible. And I'll mention a couple of those, but also want to encourage anybody in the Wilson community to reach out to me if they're looking for other types of resources and it's not possible to get a hold of the couple that I mentioned. But the Khan Academy has some fun and great lessons and videos on growth mindset for kids of different ages. And then there's a host of resources at mindsetkit.org. And there you're going to find, again, brief, fun, short videos that are created for really kids of different ages, parents, teachers, mentors, that explain the growth mindset and the fascinating research behind it. And also you can kind of give yourself an opportunity to learn through the exercises that are there. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It is fun and is engaging. So I would recommend mindsetkit.org as well. And then also older kids, adults might enjoy reading Carol Dweck's book Mindset, or watching her TED Talk, which is called The Power of Believing That You Can Improve.
Those are great resources. Thank you for sharing those. And that idea of reflection too, I think is so important as we transition from the school year to the summer as well. So thank you for all of those wonderful suggestions. And thanks for spending time with us today. Really appreciate all of your work. Thank you, Beth.